If your CRM looks like this, then you're potentially losing out on a huge amount of revenue and deals every single week. Now, I see it time and time again. You get your CRM organized, everything looks good, you try and keep implementing your changes, but then you get CRM fatigue and everything just gets into a mess, to the point where you feel like you have to start over again, or you'll have to spend thousands and thousands on paying an expert to do it for you. But in this video, I'm going to show you how you can set up some simple workflows from Enrich to NA10 to your CRM, so you can keep everything organized, clean, with very minimal effort. And don't worry, there isn't 20 complex integrations and it doesn't break the bank to set up. Now, firstly, let's go through what a bad CRM looks like. Now, on my screen at the moment, I am sharing 5 examples of 5 elements in a CRM which could go very, very wrong very quickly. Now, it felt spiritually wrong to create an example within my own CRM, which is why I'm sharing it on slides at the moment with the help of ChatGPT to create a few of these examples for me based on my instructions. But I'm sure a lot of you have at least encountered one of these issues if you've been using CRMs for a long time. So firstly here, we have overdue leads everywhere. So you add a new lead in, it sits in new lead forever, you don't follow up with it, it never moves forward. We have unassigned leads across the pipeline. So whose lead is it, right? Like, who was the person that should be dealing with this? And then it gets messy because people don't know who's what, and then reporting becomes messy, and just generally a nightmare. Missing or useless notes. Now, if you work in a team of people, this can be incredibly frustrating, especially if an SDR is filling out details for an account executive to then take a sales call, and they don't have good notes from, the conversations that have happened previously. This is going to put you in a bad position to close that sales call. Leads in wrong or contradictory stages. When you have too many stages, sometimes people want to monitor the pipeline too granularly, and you get fatigued because it's like, what is this stage even for? And then it sits in the stage, you never update it. And then it's really difficult to report or know how effective your sales activity is at that current moment in time. And then finally, dead pipeline, no movement for weeks. So nothing's getting moved across stages. No one knows when they should be reaching back out to leads. And it just becomes a mess. These bad practices, if you keep doing them, is very hard to fix over time. What you're going to want to do first is create a workflow within NA10. We're going to have a webhook trigger here. For the purpose of the video, I'm just going to show you quickly how you set this up. So when you create a trigger, right? So I've got a trigger node here and it's going to be webhook. What we want to do is you want to get the test URL. You want to go to Enrich. You want to create a webhook. URL you copy and paste in here for the test, and then you name it. In this instance, I name it Enrich to NA10 to Attio, because now I know, right, which flow is this linked to. So when I refer back to the webhooks, or maybe I need to create a new webhook or make an adjustment to one of my existing webhooks, I know which one to select and what flow it corresponds to. At this point, we want to choose first message reply received. You could do based on when a lead tag is updated. However, you have to manually update the tag, so it kind of defeats the purpose of the automation. I don't want to have to go manually into Enrich and mark a lead as interested. I just want to be able to do that whole process automatically. I want to measure the sentiment automatically. I barely want to even have to look at the inbox. I want to just be able to see when a positive reply comes in and then go to Enrich and deal with the positive reply. Then here you want to just leave it on all campaigns unless you're running multiple different campaigns and you need to be careful about which ones you select for this particular flow. And then you create webhook. So we go back to NA10, we listen for a test event, we go back to Enrich, we test the webhook, and you can see now success is working. Now, once our webhook is up and running, we can then move to setting up the CRM agent. Now, the reason I'm showing a succeeded run is so I can show you how the data runs through the flow into our CRM at the end. So we have the AI agent itself with the prompt and the system instructions. We have our output parser, which is in JSON. This is so we can pick variables out of the prompt output instead of it just being one big blob of data. And then we have our model. We're using o3 mini here. So we just need to connect our ChatGPT or OpenAI API key to the model so we can run this workflow. Now, it's very simple for how this works. You have your system message here, which is the instructions that the AI agent is going to run on for each individual workflow. So here we obviously have, if I open this up, we have the role here. We have to determine the sentiment of the reply. So we're giving it instructions on what output it should be giving, essentially. We're then giving some very clear examples, and then we're showing the example of the output. In the prompt, because our system instructions is doing the majority of the work here, we can keep this very simple. So the full conversation, we have me and the prospect. I just want to give it enough context to the conversation so it can understand if it's positive or if it's negative. So you can see here, this is all the data that we've received from the webhook. All we need to choose is my message, which would be this one here, because this is message 0, which is essentially message 1. So I can see that this is me, and then I can see that this is the reply from the lead. I've essentially pulled this variable into this section, and I pulled this variable into this section and labeled them me and prospect. Now it's going to change for each lead which enters my workflow. Now I won't go into the exact details of how you set up an API key, but all you need to know is you need to set up credentials and then connect your API key to the model for this workflow to run. And then we have our JSON output here. Now you can easily just create this from doing a prompt in ChatGPT. Just ask it to do a JSON object based on the sentiment and the reasoning, and it will output this for you. And this will mean that when it goes to our next stage of the workflow, we can actually pull out each of the variables as a dynamic variable like I showed you within the CRM agent. At this point, we want to remove all the negative responses. So if we go back to a successful run here and I show you how this is running. So obviously now we have our sentiment nicely split out because of our JSON object, and we have our reasoning. So we want to pull out sentiment and then contains positive. So anytime this sentiment is positive, it will filter it out and it will remove any of the negative responses simultaneously. Finally, we are connecting Attio through HTTP API. If you use something like Airtable or if you use HubSpot, you're going to have native integrations within N8N for the vast majority of CRMs. It's only Attio, which is quite a new product on the market. I had to create a HTTP request, but essentially all you have to do is find the URL, so like the endpoint that Attio receives. So you copy and paste that URL. Always specify the headers for application JSON. So we have one header here for the content type, and then here all we're doing is we're pulling all of the data points. So we're pulling name, first name, last name, LinkedIn URL, company name, etc., etc. All of the data that we have from Enrich, we are now sending to our CRM so we can run the automation within Attio. Now, moving on to Attio, I'll quickly show you where you go in order to set up these workflows, right? So you're going to want to go to automations and workflows. Each CRM will have a builder like this. I know HubSpot does. I know Pipedrive has a builder like this. I know Airtable has a builder like this. So initially we need a webhook again. Now, you remember I showed you the endpoint within N8N for the HTTP API request. That is this webhook URL. So we want to copy and paste this and bring that back to our N8N workflow, and that would go into our HTTP request in this URL box here. Now what that's going to do is whenever a lead runs through the N8N workflow, Attio is going to be listening for it when it comes out the other end, essentially. So once we've connected our webhook, we then need to pass the JSON. The reason for that is because when we get the data sent from N8N, it will be in one big JSON object and the fields won't be split out into dynamic variables. So what this node allows us to do is pull out those variables and values such as full name, first name, last name, etc., etc. Otherwise, it would just be one long line of data with all of these variables next to each other. The way you do that is whatever is sent from N8N. So if that variable is called full name, just copy and paste the exact wording of what it's called within N8N, and then it will match the string, and then you can just name the alias so you can refer it to it within the workflow. If you don't name it, it will just come up as field 1, and it will be really difficult to differentiate between the different variables within the workflow that you're building. So at this point, we've now got all of our dynamic variables, so we can create our records. Here, I'm firstly creating a person record, and we're just getting the main data points that we can pull from our LinkedIn campaign. So what we're going to have available is full name. We're going to have an email available for some of our leads. We're going to have company name, job title, and we're going to have LinkedIn URL. After this, very similar. We're now creating a company record. So we have name here, create record here for team. This is just so we can associate the person we just created with the team at this particular company. And that's really about it. We have the website as well at the top there. So once we've created a person and a company record, we can now associate them with a deal, but we need to create that deal first. So our next node is create deal. In our case, I select the person's name for the deal name. So I've selected for deal stage here, lead interested. That means they're automatically going to be added into that stage of the pipeline. I'm selecting myself as the deal owner, and then I'm associating the people record we just created and the company record we just created here. And you can find all of these variables when you click use variable. Now at the bottom here, I'm selecting cold LinkedIn because this came from a cold LinkedIn campaign from our Hey Reach, and then we're selecting email. So finally, what we want to do at the end of this flow is create a list. The reason I like to do this, as you can see in the left-hand column here, I have LinkedIn attribution. And if, for instance, a client wants to quickly see what's going on with their LinkedIn campaigns and how many leads have come in, or they just want to have a look at the list, they can click here and they can see all of the leads which have come from LinkedIn within here. And the way you do that, very simple in this case, we're just choosing creative record that we just created, and all of those data points are now going to be imported into this list. But you need to create the list first in order to be able to select it in the input variable at the top there. So now we've created our records, we can now build out some automation for follow-up reminders for us within Slack. Now I have 3 different workflows for this. So if we go into the LinkedIn follow-up reminders 3 days, and I'll show you what it looks like on Slack on the other end as well. We want a recurring schedule. The reason we want a recurring schedule is because we don't want to manually have to trigger the flow. We have this set up for daily at 9 a.m. Then at this point, it's going to try and find list entries. So we have this node here. If we didn't have these conditions set up here, we would literally be sending reminders in Slack, and that would get incredibly crowded within that Slack channel. So the way we prevent that from happening is we set these conditions. So only if a lead is lead interested, if their attribution is cold LinkedIn, and if a created at is before 4 days and after 2 days. This is the cleanest way, I believe, to get the date correct, because these are relative, right? So it's relative to that date which it happens. So we can be sure that we'll get a follow-up reminder at 9 a.m. on the 3rd day of a record being created from a cold LinkedIn campaign. Our next note here is we want to do a loop. In some CRM or building or automation builders, you don't have to do this. So I know for a fact in Airtable, you don't have to do this. This is a feature of Attio where I need to do this loop. The reason for that is so we can run it individually for each row. If a bulk piece of data comes in one go, it will try and run everything in one go and it will just mess up. So all we need to do here is choose the variable which is matching list entries, and then we want to create a node within the loop which is post message to channel. We can simply connect this through our Slack channel because there's a native integration with Attio. All we do here is we choose our corresponding channel within Slack, which is Hey Reach positive replies, and then we write the message here, and we can even choose the dynamic variables. So it would read like lead Rob Sloan has been in lead interested for 3 days. Please follow up on Hey Reach. And then I provide the LinkedIn URL just in case someone wants to quickly click on that from Slack to view the lead. Then what this is going to do, so if I go over to my Slack and I bring this into screen and we go to Hey Reach positive replies channel here, but as you can see, it pulls through the Attio app, and it's going to trigger on 3 days, 2 weeks, or 7 days. So now just to show you, we have a bunch of leads in here which are from our LinkedIn campaigns. We can now create a report based on this list. So this is just like a dummy one that I've set up. But as you can see here, you could set up like bar charts between channels based on the lists that you create. So we can nicely segment the data and visually see the data in different ways. And then of course, in our deals pipeline, the top funnel, so everything from our outbound campaigns, is going to be automated. So we don't have to really worry about the top funnel. Once a lead books into a demo, all we need to do is move that lead into the demo section. And as you can see from one of the tests I've done, is moved into gone cold because this was set up for 14 days without a reply. Now, just to note as well, we don't just have to do this for our LinkedIn funnel. We can do this for all of our marketing and sales funnels. We could have a Google Ads one. You can see in my screen recording, we have conference attribution set up from a type form. This will automate all of your top funnel CRM enrichment, so you never have to do it again. But this goes a long way to streamlining your workflows, so your team doesn't have to keep updating the CRM and they can focus actually on closing the deals. If you need to fill up your CRM in the first place, watch this video to the side of me where we go through how to send thousands of LinkedIn messages through Enrich so you can generate hundreds of positive replies, close lots of deals, and keep your pipeline nice and healthy.